guys? This is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Just a couple more days left, or 2 weeks or so until the new year, and we're going to take advantage of this. So in the last video, I talked about how to detox from all that emotional clutter we have gained over the entire year of 2020. And today I want to talk to you about those energy building habits that will make all the difference for you next year. And those habits are best started now, because we all know it takes around 21 days for habits to stay within our system, and in the beginning we make mistakes anyways. So use that time now. Don't start creating those habits in the new year when that should be the point when we actually start taking action, when we actually have all the goals ready to create that INFJ Epic life. So now we're going to go into those habits. Remember, if you want to take the next step and use this time in particular, then check out the INFJ Epic Life Masterclass. There we talk about physical energy management as one of the pillars as well. We have talked a lot about habits in the past, but I want to make one thing very clear. Habits are not a great thing because of it makes you a good person or then you're gonna feel happier. Those things happen, yes, of course. But the reason why those physical energy management habits are so helpful is because we need to improve our energy in order to be able to go for our goals. We as INFJs, to begin with, have a hard time to put effort into things that aren't necessary, right? We do the bare minimum very often, or when we do something, it's because we feel external pressure. But saying that you're going to prioritize your own goals, your own dreams, building your life, that can be extremely difficult if you're working against yourself. And so that's why it feels to so many of us that intellectually, of course, we would want all of those things. Of course, we would want to start creating that INFJ epic life, to feel fulfilled, to go after our dreams. But it seems like it's happening outside of us. It doesn't seem like we can connect to it. It isn't just as easily said as, oh, okay, just do it. We know that's not how it works. So that's why physical energy management is so important. So we have to make sure that we improve our physical energy management as much as possible in order to have enough energy to step out of the default state, to step out of the hamster wheel. And so, a lot of people say, oh, my system is the only one that works, and you have to do this, otherwise you're lost. I don't believe this at all. I think there are many great ways to reach and achieve your dreams. But what I can tell you is that the system we're gonna talk about today, and that is, based in the boot camp and of course in the INFJ Epic Life Masterclass, these things work. So it isn't the only one, but it's the one that works, and it works really, really well for INFJs, and that's why I want to share it with you, because I want you to understand the basics now, and you don't have to get the full system in order to implement the first steps. On top of everything, it gives you a different kind of motivation, because if you say, okay, I should start working out, I should, start making my bed, I should sleep better, the list goes on and on, I should declutter, I should meditate. If you don't have a why that is big enough, you're going to stop at some point, because it takes vigilance, it takes consistency, and it takes conviction. And I remember for so many years wanting to do all of those things because so many people were doing them, and they said, oh, I'm so happy when I have those habits. But I started doing those habits from time to time, and I didn't feel any better. It didn't make me feel like that would make a difference in my life. I remember very well thinking, why in the world should I start making my bed? How is that going to change my life? Nobody's going to see that bed. It's just my bed, right? I'm the only one who really sees that. How can this make a difference in my life? That's ridiculous. And the list goes on and on. It took me a while to understand that it's not about those things. It's about what those habits do to you. What benefits all of these habits bring to your mindset. Because things like, for example, making your bed isn't about having a clean bed and that makes you a better person or a more fulfilled person. It's that it teaches your mind to get positively addicted to being productive and to doing things that are just for you. Because the fact that your bed is mainly seen by you and maybe your partner or your children or whatever it is, but in general, that's a very private thing. So let's, for this example's sake, just say, okay, you're the only one who sees your bed. That is exactly why we should do it. Because most of the time we do things because other people want us to, because they expect us to. You show up Monday morning at 9 o'clock at work because this is expected of you. There are going to be consequences on your life and you will feel them immediately if you don't comply by those rules. But doing the things that will create your INFJ epic life, they will happen without any external feedback. Nobody's gonna look at you and say, why didn't you write that chapter in your book? Why didn't you go and apply for that contest? Why didn't you go and record that video? Whatever it is that's on your mind, and it can be also something like manifesting your ideal partner. If you're in a position where you said, okay, I've been single for so long and I'm just waiting, nobody's really going to do anything about it. Nobody's going to come to you and ask you, okay, so on how many blind dates did you go? How many of your friends did you ask to introduce you to somebody? How many online dating sites have you tried out? Like, the story goes on and on. You're not going to have this. So the things that we want most in our life, no matter if it's on a personal note, if it's about our career, if it's about our vocation, all of those things require you to want to first be productive and then be productive about things that are good for you. So if we want to achieve that, then our main goal has to be to rewire our mind to want those things, because we know very well willpower doesn't last. If that would be the case, you would have achieved everything so far, right? If you said, I'm going to get fit and I'm going to lose weight, or if you would have said, okay, from now on, I'm going to be really strict with my sleep schedule, whatever it is, like, you would have done it if it was all about willpower, but it's not. So let's stop talking about that you're just not made for this, or you're unlucky, or the universe doesn't like you, or it just doesn't work for you, or it works for everybody else but not for you, because this thing isn't an INFJ thing. This is a human thing altogether. But the INFJ specific part of the strategy is that we understand this underlying concept on a subconscious level as well, really easily. It's not like other types cannot understand this, but for us, there is a little bit of an ease here because our conscious mind and our subconscious mind blend so much into each other. So knowing that our main goal is to create a mindset that wants us to move forward and at the same time creates additional energy that will give you the power to push through. Now that is a why that is big enough. Now that is something that will give you the motivation to put effort into those habits, because knowing that and experiencing that, you will feel this after a couple of weeks already. And that's why physical energy management, which is the first pillar of the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life. By the way, you can download the free poster. The link is in the description. This is one of the 5 pillars that we talk about in bootcamp. It's one of the 5 pillars to the Epic Life Masterclass that you can get now. This is the final sale for the Epic Life Masterclass because we're going to focus more on bootcamp and on coaching. But when we talk about it in bootcamp, I see the reaction right away. I see how all the INFJs that work with me, they get really excited about this part because they see the progress. They see that they do have more energy. They see that they want to go for the things that will change their life. And it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Remember, what we're trying to do is create a new pathway. If all your life you've always gone down this one pathway within the cornfield, and now we want to do something different, and we have to do something different. You cannot create a new life by doing the same things you did over and over again, right? This is not something new to you. We all know doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, that's called insanity. So we still do it because most of the time we don't know how. First off, if you have more energy, you already see much more of the path possible. It's a way of, okay, I actually get bigger in my overall energy and I see opportunities because now they seem possible to me. And at the same time, I'm just that motivated of the process, because the process of doing something productive for me, that already feels great. So I'm not concerned with the fact that, that pathway is long. I'm not concerned with the fact that it will take a while to create that pathway, because I want to take the step, because taking the step already feels like the best thing ever. So what kind of habits are we talking about? Well, let's start with one of the big things, which is sleep. If you're somebody who has problems sleeping, meaning you don't sleep enough because of FOMO, right? You fear that you're missing out. So you come home, you feel like I'm all exhausted, and then you stay up until 2 o'clock, and then you have to get up at 6 to go to work. You are wiped out. There is no way for you to do anything additional on your goal goals, on your dreams, on setting and making changes in your life because you don't have enough energy to begin with, right? If you come home even on the weekend, you just want to sleep. You just want to do something which doesn't require mental capacity, like watching TV or eating or whatever it is. So if you're in this position, it should be your first goal to improve your sleep situation. And there are many ways to do this. One of the best things that I have learned is to start maximizing your sleep by half an hour slots. This is hugely important because every single time I talk to INFJs, it's always the same story. Yes, I go to bed at 2 o'clock. I'm even willing to admit that. Like most people, even have trouble with that. Not just in front of me, but in front of themselves, right? They say, well, I go to bed around 12, but if they would actually track it, they would say, yeah, I aim for 12, but then it turns into 2. So first off, being honest with yourself, where you're at, where you're really starting, not what you want or what you aim, what is really externally observable. Remember, in this scenario, we use TE, extroverted thinking as in, is it an externally observable fact? What is it? And then the second thing they always say is, now I'm going to start going to bed at 10. I'll make it. I'll be that vigilant and I'll be that strong, and some actually make it happen for a couple of days. And then something happens during the day, which will happen. This isn't like an if scenario. Definitely things happen that get you out of balance. And what happens? It's just too much work. It requires too much willpower. You will not sustain it. The shift from being somebody who goes to bed at 2 o'clock, because that's a time where you feel comfortable and it feels normal, to somebody who goes to bed at like 10 or 11, that's just too big. That's too big of a change. Your mind cannot stick to that because it hasn't become your new normal. I always say when it comes to physical energy management, you want to create a new normal. You want to create something that you feel you could do for the rest of your life. See, I've been really, really good with sleep for many years, and this has been one of the things I took on very early. So this wasn't really something that I struggled with because I was so consistent with it, right? So I always go to bed the latest at 11 and I sleep until 7. I also had times where I had problems in the middle of the night, and there are a lot of things you can do when it comes to this. I'll talk about it in a second, but the point is that you can become somebody for whom 10 or 11 o'clock doesn't feel like you're missing out. It doesn't feel like hard work. It feels to me like this is something I could potentially do for the rest of my life and it wouldn't bother me at all. And this is what we want to get you to. This is not supposed to be work. Physical energy management is the part that is supposed to make you have more energy, that is supposed to give you more, not take the energy out of you. The things that will require energy are the goal settings, are the things when we talk about what do you want in your relationships, how are you going to achieve them, like all of those aspects. What are you going to do about your vocation? They require energy, specifically in the beginning to get the process started. But here we want to give you more. So in order to become somebody who creates a new normal, we have to go in really small steps and always aim for success. This is very, very important. And I've seen huge success stories with INFJs in that category because people who have been on really irregular sleep schedules and are not happy with this for decades have changed their behavior within like half a year, like really being somebody who goes to bed the latest at 11. And you might say, oh, half a year? Yeah, but it's something that is then part of your new normal. It's not something that you're gonna fall off. And remember, you've been building the habit of going to bed at, let's say, 2 o'clock in the morning for decades. You cannot expect to shift this thing right away, but you can shift the habit of being somebody who first off has success stories all the time because that makes you positively addicted. So saying to yourself, my goal is to be in bed by 1:30 and I'm gonna stick to it more days out of the week that I'm not. Okay, that's our first goal. And then you track it and then you see how you're able to do it maybe 2 times a week the first week. That's, already a success. Next time, maybe it's 3 days out of the week, 4, 5. Before you know it, 1:30 has become your new normal. Your mindset has shifted and you don't have to put any effort into it. It's become normal. And at the same time, you have learned to be productive, to get excited about being able to keep the promises you make to yourself, and to do something that nobody else is going to look after you for, right? There's nobody scolding you why you're not in bed or anything like this. You're doing this for you. So you're learning so many skills that'll help you in so many aspects if you start with the physical energy management aspect. And so I talked here about sleep, but the same thing goes for meditation. Meditation helps you to be in control of where your thoughts go, because if you start meditating, you always lose your train of thought. Like, there is no such thing as you start meditating and you're always listening to what you're doing. You know, I'm a big fan of guided meditations. It's a little bit easier than just listening to, you know, some kind of meditative music, for example. But in either way, your thoughts will shift. They will shift into what you did last week, things to worry, people you're mad at. And what you do is you catch yourself at some point and then you take it back. That's a practice. You learn to be in control of your thoughts. So all of those energy building habits will make room for the new goals you're going to set in the new year. We're going to talk about how to set those goals, you know, not to go for the entire year only, but we're going to cut it down into quarters and stuff like this. We're going to talk about it in the next videos. You're going to learn how to actually be somebody who gets excited about doing things for yourself, and it will already feel like you're having successes all the time. It really does something with how you feel. You know, there are chemicals released in your mind because you feel you're making progress. Remember, if you want to know more about those physical energy management habits, then download the free poster. The link is below. Or if you want to, you know, say now's the time, I really want to go in, then definitely get the INFJ Epic Life Masterclass. We have a great discount because, you know, we are discontinuing it soon. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video I talked with Marco about, you know, INFJ success habits. So he's a psychologist and he explains how those success habits really impact the way you want to approach the next day, how you get excited, how chemicals are released, and, you know, they make you feel even more confident that this is the right way to go. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.